listening to The Mouth.
Every Friday on Source FM. You're listening to The Mouth.
This is The Mouth, your go-to radio show for all things Falmouth and beyond. I'm Ollie Chalkley.
I'm Maddie Rixon.
And I'm Talia Turner. Our headlines today.
Pubs and cafes in Falmouth say they're worried about an impossible future under new business taxes.
Businesses are closing. Businesses will close because it becomes unaffordable to run a business. But if you can't be an entrepreneur in this country, what can you be?
Student climate protester cleared of charges after the threat of 10 years behind bars. We have the full story.
That action could land you in prison for 10 years. Like, what does that say to people in terms of when they're thinking about protesting?
New ice rink in Cambourne. We test it out.
The winter wonderland made me feel very Christmassy and really full of joy.
You're listening to The Mouth.
And of course, we'll also be bringing you the all-important weather, surf and what's on updates. But first, the news.
Pubs and cafes in Falmouth have been reacting to news that rateable values will change, many going up significantly. It's a worry for many local businesses who say it may push them over the edge. Maddie Rixon reports.
The VOA has updated the rateable values of commercial properties, and Falmouth's local businesses are concerned about what this might mean for them. With cafes and pubs reporting rateable value increases of up to 50 to 100%, I spoke with business owners and managers to gauge how anxious the town really is about these changes. First, I spoke with long-term manager of Games Room, Kathy, who was notably frustrated and disheartened with the government making these changes.
So the VAO changed the rateable values, which is done by the government, and then Cornwall Council will adjust our business rates accordingly. So our business rates are going up £2,000 a month. I think that they are crippling businesses and they're taking away employers. And without employers, you don't have employees. And if you look across the board, hospitality is not recruiting and hasn't been recruiting for quite some time in Falmouth, and I've never seen that before. Businesses are closing. Businesses will close because it becomes unaffordable to run a business. But if you can't be an entrepreneur in this country, what can you be? Our unemployment rates are going up massively, as they have done over the last year. And I am very, very lucky. We have a very sustainable business. I see other businesses that have massive increases. I know that there's some businesses out there that are getting £30,000 increase per year, and it's just unsustainable. So, you know, we have to come to a point where everybody realises you can only have employees if there are employers out there. So the government needs to remember that, and they don't. And I'd like to send Rachel Reeves a calculator for Christmas.
I also went to Rubicund, a cafe and bookshop in St George's Arcade, where I spoke with the owner, Lee, who plans on waiting a bit longer to see how the value changes will affect him later on.
A lot of people don't really know exactly what it means to them in this town yet. So a lot of the smaller businesses who haven't been paying business rates historically because they're off the high street or very small units, don't really know how it's going to affect them. You know, it's a considerable increase, and it's definitely going to affect whether small businesses can afford to employ any staff. So somebody I was talking to, their rateable value has gone up by £10,000, which is a considerable jump. So I'm like deferring my concerns until I know what's going on. So, but I'm lucky enough to be able to shelve some things and not worry about them. But basically, you know, try and not worry, because there's nothing we can do about it, except unless we all want to mount a campaign to not pay those things because we think we're not capable of doing so and it's too much for a small business to absorb. So yeah, I would be up for that.
Meanwhile, in response to fears over a lack of income for businesses in the quieter months, Falmouth Bid has introduced After 5 Fridays to encourage footfall in the evenings, Georgia Lote reports.
The idea behind After 5 Fridays is simple. keep Falmouth open later, and encourage people to spend more time and money in the town centre. But as winter hits and footfall drops, businesses say that every customer counts. At Chain Locker, Deputy Manager Josh Pentin says the campaign is already making a small difference.
It's been a particularly tough couple of months, especially in the hospitality industry, ever since the end of the summer, more or less, and anything like the push, the campaign that they've been doing, it helps. Fridays were a bit of a hit and miss, but there's been definitely a slight uptick in terms of Friday nights after that campaign as well. I think doing it every week would almost lose the impact. It's once a month or twice a month, maybe at a max, but you wouldn't do it any more than that, in my eyes at least.
The campaign aims to give people a reason to stay in town after dark, but not everyone even knows it exists.
I didn't know it was happening. This is the first I've heard of it. I mean, I might come if it happened more often. I suppose it'd be depending on the weather and well, if there was other stuff to do, perhaps.
But for others, the monthly schedule is part of the appeal, and it's already becoming a date night staple.
I knew about it. Me and my partner went to the boathouse on Friday to have a date night. We went and got chips and a pint for £10 each. It makes it feel a bit more special having it a bit more spaced out. I would really like if the shops were open a bit more. It would be a bit nicer for the two of us just to have something to eat and drink and then walk around to the stores and do a bit of Christmas shopping.
Falmouth Bid wasn't available for interview, but in previous statements they've said the scheme is designed to support businesses during the quieter months and to bring more locals into town earlier in the evening. For some businesses, the initiative brings a welcome boost. For many residents, awareness and having more to do could be key to its success. Falmouth's next After 5 Friday takes place on the 9th of January 2026.
In summer last year, 3 protesters threw orange powder onto Stonehenge. One of them was Neve Lynch, a student now here in Falmouth. She's just heard that she won't be going to jail for the incident after facing a possible sentence of 10 years behind bars. Tom Luckett and I had a chat with her.
In June of 2024, 3 Just Stop Oil protesters were arrested for their demonstration after throwing dry orange paint on Stonehenge, a protected ancient monument. Following a 10-day trial in October of this year, they were acquitted of the charges brought against them. Their defence, freedom of speech and the right to protest. Exeter ecology student Neve Lynch was one of those accused. She details her ordeal with her time in the Crown Court.
At court, we had 2 charges against us at the Crown Court. Number 1 was damaging an ancient monument. And number 2 was the public nuisance charge. Kind of to fight that charge, that was about the Article 10, Article 11 to the European Convention rights, which are your rights to protest and rights to freedom of speech and this kind of thing. But there's something you have to actually fight for in court. Your rights to protest are what they call qualified rights. So basically, you have this right until you do something that means that right's taken away from you.
She goes on to explain what her experience was like after performing the stunt and why they chose to protest at Stonehenge right before the summer solstice.
It wasn't it didn't feel like a massive thing at all, in terms of the actual event right there. And then I remember, you then get dumped in the back of a police car and driven to the police station, dumped in a cell, and you're totally by yourself, and you've got no idea. Obviously, the purpose of a protest is to get maximum publicity. And what if no one has heard about it? And then I was taken to interview, and the officer, she was like, had her laptop out. She's like, can I show you something? She had JSO's Twitter up on her laptop, and she showed me the video that had been posted and the fact it had millions of views already. It made me feel so much stronger. You want there to be some kind of media storm, right? That's the point. You want to highlight the climate crisis, so people have got to be viewing it. If it was about disrupting people and stopping maximum number of people from visiting the stones or something, we could have just done the protest on the day of the solstice. That obviously wasn't the intention.
Neve stated her belief that the law is being too harsh in prosecuting peaceful protesters, claiming activists are being criminalised for legitimate reasons to this basic human right.
I think what we've seen for a while is activists facing the disproportionate force of the law. I think what we're seeing right now is a real polarising between what is happening to climate activists and what's happening to Palestine activists, which I think is really alarming. The public nuisance charge has a 10-year maximum prison sentence. So feasibly 10 years. This public nuisance charge, they literally are now throwing it at basically every single protest case gets this public nuisance charge chucked on it. And it's the most vague kind of catch-all piece of legislation that the aim is that any protest could be argued to fall within the definition. But this piece of legislation criminalises causing any form of disruption, and it doesn't specify how minor that disruption is. That action could land you in prison for 10 years. Like, what does that say to people in terms of when they're thinking about protesting? In this country, we're told that if you do something wrong, you then have a fair trial, and once the trial's over, you then will go to prison if you get found guilty. But people are in prison right now, even though they haven't been found guilty of any crime.
She expresses her reluctance to go through with it again.
I would definitely do I have no regrets about our action at all. I think the fact that we got lots of headlines just before a general election had people speaking about the climate crisis, I think that was exactly what we wanted to happen. I would 100% do it again, as in talking with me in the past. Talking with me in the future, no, because I don't want to put my family through the degree of stress that having the effectively we lived for 18 months with the very realistic fear that I was going to go to prison. My gut feeling was that, right now I'd probably be in prison for Christmas kind of thing. It is livable, 100%, and, in my opinion, it is worth doing because we're fighting for a livable future.
Tom Luckett and Maddie Rixon report.
The prosecutor, Simon Jones, argued that it was carefully planned and an act of blatant and clear vandalism. However, the defendants argued that it was a peaceful protest.
For once in history, people will want to go to Camborne. In the centre of Cornwall, it is not the place you'd expect to find an ice rink. This winter, for the first time, that very rink has appeared, with real ice, mind you. It's all a part of a new Christmas attraction organisers are calling Winter Wonderland. I went along to find out more. Camborne welcomes Cornwall's first ever Winter Wonderland, with ice skating, Santa and more, bringing accessible Christmas joy to all.
The Winter Wonderland made me feel very Christmassy and really full of joy.
The Winter Wonderland is set to run from November 21st to January 4th, and is a great way for locals to enjoy activities such as ice skating without having to travel further afield to places such as the Eden Project. The Wonderland has rides, festive food, Santa's Grotto and more. I spoke to Lisa Oswin, a local who visited the Winter Wonderland to see how her experience was. What was your favourite bit about the Winter Wonderland?
The ice skating, because I haven't been ice skating in forever.
And are you glad that Camborne finally has a Winter Wonderland?
Yeah, it was nice that it wasn't so far away, didn't have to go all the way to the Eden Project, and it was close by.
I also spoke to her daughter to get another perspective. Did you enjoy the Winter Wonderland?
Yeah, it was really fun.
What was your favourite part about it?
Probably the ice skating or the big ride that I went on.
The Winter Wonderland holds a vast range of activities suitable for all. With ice skating starting as cheap as £5, it's an affordable Christmas day out, giving those who live south of Cornwall an opportunity to experience Christmas fun. And with free on-site parking, there's much to be loved about Cornwall's new Christmas edition.
Staying with a Christmassy theme, a team from our very own journalism department reviewed Cornwall's big Christmas panto. Tia Bodie and Katie Windsor are here. Thanks for coming in, guys. I'm sure you're used to being in the studio by now, but if you could, just tell us a little bit more about the production.
Hi, thanks for having us. So every year Hall for Cornwall do a Christmas pantomime. This year it was Aladdin. It's exactly what you think it is, but this time with a very Cornish twist.
Everyone likes the pantos around Christmas, but how did this one have a Cornish twist? What was the Cornish spin on the Aladdin story?
Probably the most Cornish thing that stood out to us was the 38 pasty references. We were counting along, and they also include the Cornish tartan and a can, but they reference places and everything throughout.
38 pasty references. That is very Cornish. What was the atmosphere like? Was it raucous? Were people laughing? How did it go down in the crowd?
Naturally, with most pantomimes, I feel like the atmosphere kind of builds throughout it as people get more into it and comfortable within the show.
During, I think, the second act, they did a big, 12 Days of Christmas routine that was really silly and fun. And that was the one thing that had the audience kind of roaring, up on their seats. It was so good.
Were you hooting and hollering as well in the back?
Of course we were.
Lovely. I know it's difficult to pick just one, but overall, through the whole show, what do you think was your particular favourite part?
I had a lot of favourite scenes of Widow Twerky and Willie Washaway, but probably my favourite one was the whole cast when they created a boat out of the ensemble. It was leading them onto the magic carpet and the lamp scene. It was really cool.
Lovely. Thanks so much, guys. That's amazing. Thank you for your time. Stay tuned to the mouth, everyone. Coming up, we've got some more big news stories for you.
Turning to eco-friendly methods, farmers in Cornwall look to green energy for new ways to make money.
Over the past 12 months, I've been studying for a Nuffield farming scholarship. They basically give you a bunch of money to travel around the world to study a topic in farming, to take agriculture forward for the future. And my topic is fossil-free farming. So I'm looking at all the technologies that we can use to get rid of fossil fuels in all of their different forms.
Revealed, the inside mind of a 17-year-old, a fascinating new local exhibition tells all.
There's quite a lot of people working with me on this. I've got support acts, I've got stylists, I've got photographers, I've got videographers. I'll be honest, I'm feeling quite scared to share this work with the community.
A very comfortable home for dogs in Cornwall. Kennels in Newquay get a big donation.
We've now built 10 kennels and 2 isolation kennels to a very high welfare standard.
You're listening to The Mouth.
New green techniques are some of the things Cornish farmers are looking towards. It's all about trying to make sure there's a future for their industry in the county. Tom Luckett reports.
Stuart Oates is a 7th generation farmer working the land of Roswick Organic Farm, located deep in Cornwall's Lizard Peninsula. His family has owned these acres since the 18th century. Stuart informs the Mouth on his approach to fossil-free farming.
Farmers love to talk about the fact they've been somewhere for a long time. And their legacy is not about having loads of money at the end of their life. It's about passing their farm on and passing that legacy on. And to do that, we need to stay ahead. We need to change with the environment around us. There is no one able to deny that our climate is changing. We have seen huge problems with our harvests over the last few years, and people are starting to lose vast sums of money. And I see fossil-free farming as a real opportunity. It shouldn't end up being a cost. It should end up being a gain. So I see farmers in the future as food security, I see them as environmental security, but I also see this huge opportunity to become energy security. We have all of this space, and what do we need at the moment? We need space for solar panels, we need space for wind turbines. We own all of those spaces at the moment. If we could do agri-solar, for example, we actually keep producing our animals and our crops in between them. What a massive opportunity. Those types of projects can produce 10, 20, 30% returns. And most farms rely on a 3% return for food production.
The Oates family have been implementing pioneering strategies which are transforming the very fabric of the land for the better.
Being fossil-free, there are some really easy wins, and it actually helps make a really sort of stable farming system. The things that we've done already have been change our diesel fuel to HVO fuel. We run all of our tractors on that. That's a short-term fix, of course, because there isn't unlimited amounts of that fuel. In the long term, we hope that we'll switch across to things like methane, or, which I think is going to be the next big thing for tractors, it'll be electric. As we sort of increase the density of energy in batteries, it'll be feasible for us to store enough energy to be able to get through a whole workday. And I think it's going to happen. So these are the super easy wins. We're already organic, so we've got rid of the whole fertilizer problem. We don't have any chemical inputs. And then I've been doing some tests and trials on trying to get rid of single-use plastic. Instead of making silage, we've been making hay, and that takes way less plastic to wrap it up. And then instead of using a plastic net around the hay, we've been using sisal twine, and it's incredibly sustainable.
Stuart explains what needs to be done to move English farms to a more sustainable, eco-conscious place.
I'm really enthused about farming at the moment. I think we've had a long time, for maybe the last 10, 20, 30 years, where people have been kind of stuck. They've either been organic or they haven't done anything. But actually, we're in this really crazy moment, and a lot of farmers and friends, we all say it. We all think we're in an agricultural revolution. And what's happening is people are understanding that it's becoming cheaper to work with nature than against nature. And if we can get to that point, suddenly it makes commercial sense to start farming regeneratively. And that's the word that everyone started using, regenerative agriculture. As we move towards that and we understand that, I think that's going to be the biggest change. But then also, as technology is advancing, and there's a lot of money in agriculture, and so there's loads of money going into developing technologies which are going to sort of take farming forward to being fossil free. I'm actually pretty sure it's going to happen. It's just when.
Tom Luckett reports.
Do you want to peek inside someone's diary? Well, head to Fish Factory this Tuesday to celebrate the opening of this local musicians exhibition, live music included.
Hi, my name's Sylvie Rose. I'm a singer-songwriter down in Falmouth. I study here. I'm in my third year. I do popular music. I am running an exhibition and a live opening event on the 16th of December. Music-wise is only on the 16th, and then the gallery stays open from the 17th to the 20th of December, free for the public. It's held at Fish Factory in Penryn. It's under the concept called A Girl Who Wore Her Heart on Her Sleeve, and it showcases a written archive of poetry, journal entries and letters over my teenage years to early 20s. I've discovered my old poetry videos from when I was 17 to 22. I started to have this really weird experience where I just didn't recognise my own voice. I was looking at this girl, and it's so strange, when you really put two and two together, that's you, that's your past self. And I wrote this poem about that experience of just not recognising your younger self and just feeling so in awe of her, but also just sad for her. Going through years of journals, it has been really interesting and challenging. Some of it's just corny and whatever, but some of it's really sad, and I think I was a really sad teenager. There's a new song called Burn. It's quite an aggressive song, but it's a lot of improvisation. There's also another song called Home Time. That's just genuinely the most wholesome, beautiful song I've ever written. I'm going to close the set with that. I chose Fish Factory as a venue because I really wanted a space where I could exhibit, perform, and it be communal, and that people don't just feel like they need to leave as soon as it's done. They've been really, really nice to me, super communicative, very supportive of it all. I'll be honest, I'm feeling quite scared to share this work with the community. I'm nervous that people won't relate to it. The idea is that it's slightly anonymous. You read it and it's just a teenage girl, it's just a young woman. I'm really hoping that it will connect to people. If you were to come to the event on Tuesday the 16th of December at Fish Factory, we have a support act from Kez and Iona. My set is about an hour. We're going to have a break midway through. There'll also be a showing of the little feature film I made with Clodagh, who works at Jezebel's tattoo studio in Falmouth. And then also the entire set is getting recorded live, and fingers crossed will be turned into a live album, or at least EP. After this is finishing my degree, graduate, go back home to Bristol, try and get a job in music events and festival programming, and who knows, I don't know, it'll be exciting, and I think hopefully I'll do some cool stuff.
People around Cornwall make Tour de France look like Tour de Farce as they bike race to the North Pole to raise $5,000 for Young Lives versus Cancer.
I'm Poppy and I'm a property manager here at Smart Property Group, and I've helped today set up the charity event. We're doing a charity cycle. We are aiming to raise £5,000 for 5,000 kilometres for our chosen charities. Our chosen charities are Young Lives versus Cancer, which is our Penryn charity, Little Harbour, which is St Austell and Launceston's charity, and Branch House, who are an incredible charity in Exeter. Young Lives versus Cancer help with a variety of different things: financial help, mental health support and medical help. They provide a support worker for the families and the diagnosed, and are all round incredible.
Hi, I'm Harriet. How long have you been on the bike? 15 minutes and 19 seconds. My butt really hurts. I've done 8k and somebody was on for half an hour and they did 11, so I'm going to beat that.
Life is no longer rough for our four-legged friends in Newquay. They are set for a brighter future thanks to a generous local donation of £1,000 to Newquay charity, with the money going to building new kennels. Darcy Trelaw reports.
A dog rehoming centre in Newquay has received a donation of over £1,000 worth of materials to build new kennels. St Francis Dogs Home is a rescue and rehoming centre based in Newquay. The charity was founded by Nancy Bates in 1955, during a time where there were very few rescue facilities, with an aim to avoid animals being unnecessarily put down instead of rehoming them. The centre rehomes around 200 dogs each year. The generous donation comes from Travis Perkins' Newquay branch, a builder's merchant. They provided St Francis with materials like timber and cement. Alison Beck is a trustee for St Francis. She joined them in May 2024 and has spent years working in animal welfare in Cornwall and beyond.
We've now built 10 kennels and 2 isolation kennels to a very high welfare standard. And this will now give us more opportunity to meet the needs of the dogs in Cornwall, such as we can now take dogs perhaps aren't always suitable to go into our direct rehoming or foster homing system. I don't know if you're aware that we try and aim to put most dogs into a foster home before they're rehomed. It's less stressful for the dogs and it gives the chance for them to adapt perhaps to a home life that they haven't had before. But that's not always possible. So in times of emergency or perhaps an abandonment, or a dog may require some extra special behaviour training just to get them, home ready. It's important that we have them on site so that our team of behaviourists and trainers can work with them to help them decompress, to help them adjust to their new life. So it's vitally important that we have these kennels. They're also very important to us because it will mean that we perhaps may be able to source another stream of income, which we're all desperately in need of at the moment, whereby other charities, dog charities, are stretched and can't take a dog in at the moment. So we could offer them perhaps a kennel or 2 on a boarding system, whereby they would pay us a boarding rate, and that would help also alleviate the problem of all the dogs, coming up for rehoming.
Now, St Francis are calling on Cornwall for support.
We've got a very exciting open day coming on the 17th of January, whereby the public and our supporters can come and see the new site, see what our work is all about, see where they could perhaps fit in with a role of helping, even if it's just, say, 1 hour a week. That would be fantastic. And also, people like to see where their money's gone, and I think it's important to see that this has gone to a very worthwhile local charity that will benefit the people themselves and the dogs.
You're listening to The Mouth.
And now for the weather. As we head into the afternoon, we'll enjoy some sun, but with intermittent cloud cover and temperature highs of just 11 degrees. So it's hardly tropical, but a nice respite from the rains and storms recently. In the evening, the skies are due to become even cloudier and cooler, around 7 degrees, but will be free of the wind and rain until Sunday evening.
And now the surf report. The remnants of Storm Bram will be giving Falmouth 3-foot waves and a gentle 4-mile-per-hour westward wind for the rest of the day, with a water temperature of 12 degrees, so be sure to stay warm out there.
This has been The Mouth, your go-to radio show for all things Falmouth and beyond. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and check out our website. Thanks.
You're listening to The Mouth.
Every Friday on Source FM. You're listening to The Mouth.